hello, howdy, and welcome to another episode of Get in Tune, a musical talk show. As always, I'm your host, Cainan Grier, and I want to start today's show. With a question. What is your goal in doing music, in performing music, in writing music and getting on stage and sharing it with people that are paying for it? What is your goal? That has been a running theme this week in my life, in both the lessons that I taught, my self examination, listening to the other teachers and coaches interact with our students. And I realized that at the very beginning of my journey, I started with a selfless intention. I wanted to use the gift of music to help people, to make them feel better, to help them with their grief, to lift their spirit. I wanted to speak to the spiritual well being of a person and hope that that would somehow influence their physical well being. And as I became a better vocalist, a better musician, that was not my pursuit. My pursuit was I want to sound good. I want the people to like me. I want them to enjoy my singing. And it became very much me, 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 me. Do I sound good? Am I on pitch? How do I look? And all of these are things that we should think about in the building of our craft, right? Are the notes right? Do we know the song? How do we look on stage? But why are you singing the song? In my line of work, both as a teacher and as a vocalist, I work with a lot of covers. For those that don't know, covers are when you sing a song that someone else has previously recorded. And oftentimes, my students will try and replicate note for note what they've heard on the cover, on the original, for the cover. And I'll ask them, why are you singing it that way? Most of the time, the answer is the same. Well, that's how the song goes. I say, no, that's how the artist recorded it. Why are you singing it that way? What does this song mean for you? What are you trying to give to your audience? And that's part of my rehearsal process. But I don't think I take that on stage with me. I don't think I'm standing on stage going, I really hope the story of this lyric, reaches down into the hearts of the people and speaks to what it needs to speak to. I'm thinking the same things I'm thinking in rehearsal. Oh, how do I sound? Oh, is this the right note? Oh, am I standing properly? Oh, is my technique okay? Do I sound okay? Do I look okay? And I think that level of ego and self awareness is critical to your development and your rehearsal process up until the moment you step in front of the audience. At the moment you step in front of the audience, your job is now to touch those people. Your job is to make those people feel like whether they paid $5 or $500 to be there, you are gifting them with a spiritual sensation beyond just physically sounding good. And if you look historically at some of the greatest performers of all time, some of the greatest storytellers, not all of them were vocal virtuosos or musical virtuosos. God, I'm really struggling with that word. Virtuoso. Not all of them were virtuosos. They had gifts, but they might not have been the world's greatest technicians. In the last episode, I mentioned that Nina Simone was on my vocal Mount Rushmore. And Nina is not the world's greatest singer to me. Do I like her tone? I love her tone. But there's a conversational aspect about her singing where I believe she's just talking to me. It's not a rehearsed song. It's not a moment that's been perfectly crafted to be sold as a product. It's Nina's thoughts being expressed through this song. One of her greatest performances, in my opinion, is a cover she did of either Janis Ian or Janis Joplin. I can't remember who, but she did Stars. And I believe that everybody, when they're done listening to this podcast, should go listen to Nina Simone sing Stars live at Montreux Jazz Festival and hear what I'm talking about. There's a quality, an integrity of story, as I said to Drian. There's an integrity of story in her approach. And I think a lot of us lack that integrity. I don't think it's completely our fault. I think we live in a time where technique is king. When you go on TikTok, you see these singers doing all these runs and all these challenges, and they're sharpening and sharpening and sharpening and sharpening their skill, but they're sharpening their skills for the amusement of the ear and not for the soul. They're not digging into the meanings of songs. They're digging into, how can I show off my instrument the best? I don't want to disparage that because I think that's a good practice to have. But the ego has to die somewhere. The me, I ego of performing and singing has to die at some point in the process. And it has to become about the art. Art doesn't mean anything if it doesn't mean anything. That feels counterintuitive to say, but art is meaningless if it has no meaning. What are you trying to say? We all took language arts at some point in our lives. Why are the walls blue? Why did the author pick blue for the walls? Why is this the outfit that the character is wearing? Why do you think this character made this choice? What is the author trying to say? We sit and we analyze stories to this degree, and it can feed us artistically. It can teach us how to sit in a lyric and understand what we're trying to say. And this applies to instrumentalists too, because what is the story of the piece you're playing? What is the emotional arc? And how can you use your gift to take the audience on that emotional arc? There was a Wynton Marsalis interview that I saw a snippet of where someone said, is the player king or is the audience king? Whose opinion matters more? And Wynton said, the audience is king, but the player is the first audience. I constantly ask my students, if you don't believe what you're saying, why should I pay to play pretend? Why am I paying you to pretend like I believe in something that you don't believe in? If you don't believe your lyric and let your belief inform your approach, how do you expect your audience to believe in you? There's so many singers I've seen over the years that have absolutely beautiful instruments, and I feel nothing. I feel absolutely nothing when they get up and sing in front of me, except, God, they are an incredible singer. But I'm not going to listen to them again. I definitely wouldn't pay to watch them. And I think the way in which I've been practicing and the way in which I've been thinking is counting me in that number. I'm so focused on sounding beautiful, on expanding my range, on hitting all the right notes at all the right times, that I'm not thinking about, what is this song doing for my audience? What am I saying when I sing this? And I think spiritually, I've known this. I think spiritually, I have been so unfulfilled by people telling me I have a beautiful voice. And I'm like, am I selfish? Is that why this compliment doesn't move me when people tell me how beautiful I sound? And I had the revelation. All they can compliment you on is the sound because you're not getting to the feeling. There have been a select few times that I feel I've tapped into the feeling. Often when I sing at funerals, I go in with the mindset of my job is to use my gift to lighten those people's hearts, to comfort them in their grief on behalf of their loved one that's no longer there. And that approach has always had a better reception when I sing at funerals than when I do my absolute best and rehearse and do a show. And I realized today, literally, just before recording this, Cainan, that's the vision you need to have. No matter what you're singing, you need to approach every song like this. Beyond just what the lyrics are physically saying. I challenge you all to watch some of the greatest performances that you can't take your eyes off and realize that the person is not just ministering to you with their voice. They are taking a piece of their soul and pouring it into the art. And that's what you're responding to. My favorite performance of all time that I constantly listen to is Tank and the Banger's Tiny Desk. Because it takes me on this journey of joy. And for the life of me, I just thought, wow, these people are incredible. They're giving me a piece of their soul. Tariana Tank Ball is giving me a piece of her soul in her writing and in her delivery. I think aging and maturing and growing up and dealing with the obstacles of life, we lose sight of that purity and integrity because life is hard and we just want to sound good so the people will want to give us money for the thing we work so hard on. And there's no shame in that thought. It's a natural reaction. I think one of the cures is to get in touch with your inner child. I think that consuming the things that made you do what you do today will remind you of this. Anyone that knows me personally knows I watch a lot of children's television because I believe it has more heart than anything else. And oftentimes, what we don't realize is children's television is often not afraid to take risks. It's not afraid to say things that will make you uncomfortable and walk you through them. Steven Universe is a prime example of this. That show copes with grief, loss, immaturity, selfishness. It covers all these feelings, and there's little songs to coach the children through these feelings. But the story doesn't shy away from being itself. Just because it's serious doesn't make it not a cartoon. And it embraces both sides. I think in an effort to become more serious, we lose that joy, we lose that heart, we lose that childlike wonder. And that childlike wonder attached with the experience of life is what gets us to the heart. It's what gets us to that point, at least in my opinion. And so I challenge you all to find the thing that made you want to do this. I sat this week and I made a playlist of musicals because I started out this journey because of a musical, because of musical theater, because of the writing and the story that takes place in musical theater. The fact that the story is king over the voice, and that it is the actor's job to sing the song in a way that makes me believe the story even more, is to suck me in deeper. I should never be sitting in the audience and go, and now they're singing. That means we've missed the mark. And so I made a playlist of musicals that I'd listened to in passing when I was younger, of musicals that have been on my list to listen to. And it has reinvigorated me. It reminded me that this is why I do this. And though I may not do musical theater anymore, or for the time being, rather, because I don't think I want to completely abandon it. But though I may not be working in the musical theater realm now, I should carry that with me, that soul, that integrity of story. And it touched the part of me that was a little boy listening to this playlist. It took me back to sitting in my room wanting to be like these people. Do you ever do that? Do you ever go back into the moments to say, this is why I did this? This is what made me choose this. This is why I'm here. I think a lot of us don't, because life's hard. Life is stressful, and we have to move forward. It feels as though we have to constantly move forward. Don't look at the past. Keep moving forward. Live in the moment. And these are important concepts, but all things in balance. When you lose your train of thought, you go back to the beginning of your sentence, right? When you lose your train of thought, you go back to the beginning of your sentence. So why, as an artist, when we begin to lose the journey, when we lose sight of the journey, of the destination that we're heading to, why don't we go back to why we got on the train in the first place? Go back to that very first thing you watched that was the catalyst, and allow it to reawaken what it did for you. Even if it doesn't sound as good, the intention is what moved you. I personally think that's one of Kristen Chenoweth's weaker performances of For Good when I watched it, but the meaning, the intention, the emotional weight was there. And that is imperative, to move beyond just being good at what you do. It is imperative to find the heart, to find the soul. Doesn't matter if you sing dance pop. It doesn't matter if you sing country rock. It doesn't matter if you're a hip hop artist. It doesn't matter if you're an instrumentalist. The flash of your gift is not what stays with people. People will forget the notes that you played. They will never forget the way your music made them feel. I now have a new tool at my disposal. My piano came in today, and for the first time in almost a year, I have an acoustic piano in my house again. And it sounds amazing. It sounded so good that I sat down to play and began to sing and went, oh God, I think I need to warm up because the instrument sounds better than I do. And I warmed up and I started singing. And went, Cainan, nothing you're singing bears any weight. It doesn't mean anything. Sing the song. And immediately I departed from the way I had been singing this song forever and started to feel it. And that little voice inspired today's podcast. It inspired today's episode. I want you to take my loose train of thought that I'm presenting you with today, because it's just me. And I want you to ask yourself these questions. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be uncomfortable dealing with your ego. Oh, yeah. Because we want to be the good guys in our story. We want to be the infallible one. We want our life circumstances to be the reason why we're not where we think we should be. But what is your vision? And then I have friends that have vision, and watching them do the things with the purity and integrity brings a chill to my body. It brings a lightness to my soul. And it makes me envy them. Because what are they doing that I'm not doing? They're being intentional. They're in the story. They're in the soul of the art. It's why we're so against AI now. AI has no soul. But I guarantee you I can go on TikTok and find about 6, 7 singers that also have no soul. And it's not because they're not magnificent runners. They can't belt. They can't do all the flips and tricks. No, they have no soul because the words are meaningless. They are as a clanging cymbal, as the good book says. You can get up there and, as the Bible literally speaks to, you can get up there and speak in tongues and pray and lay hands. But if there's no love in your heart, it's empty. There's no meaning. If there's no meaning in your words, it's empty. It's useless. People will remember you had a pretty voice. But your voice will change with time. It'll fade. It'll shift. It'll darken. It'll mature. Oh, not mature. Mature. I hate when people say mature. It'll shift. Beauty fades. Beauty evolves. It grows with you. But you need to leave them with more than that. You need to leave them with substance. And this conversation was as much for me as it is for you. And I don't want you all to mistake the conversational jargon that I'm just talking to musicians. I'm addressing the musicians because that's my area of expertise. But this goes for the writers. This goes for the artist. This goes for the actor. This goes for the teacher. This goes for the parent. This goes for any career in which you have to interact with other people, a career that you have chosen to endeavor into. Right? Why? Why are you in this? Why do you sing? Why are you singing it that way? Why are you teaching it that way? What is your goal standing up in front of these kids, giving them this homework? I'm trying to help you. As a doctor, I'm trying to help you. As a lawyer, I'm trying to help you. And as we enter into this new month, keep that on a post-it note in your mind. Why? I do it for them. I do it to help them. Because helping them will fill me up. See, it can still be a little selfish. Don't do it just for them. Because you have to be fulfilled as well. But you can't only fulfill yourself. If you wanted to only fulfill yourself, you could sit in your room and record all day and post it and never get on stage in front of people. Because you were just doing it for you. But if you're doing it for them, if you're sharing your gift with the world, why? What am I doing this for? Why am I singing this song? Why am I choosing these words? Why am I holding myself this way? Why am I carrying myself this way? And just notice the shift. Notice the way that your intention changes how you feel about your work. Notice the way it changes people's response to your work. Notice the way it changes the way you move entirely, the way you pick your work, the way you craft your work. This mindset, I think, is a key. I think this is game changing, and it's so simple. It's a one word question. Why? I don't think I have anything else for you all, but I think this was such an important conversation to have. Even though I'm talking just to myself in this room, I feel as though this is going to speak to you all. I feel like this is a catalyst, and I hope to help you all tune up. But I want to remind you all that on my website, I have an Ask Asher column, and I want you all to ask me questions. I want you to question the things that I say on this podcast. I want you to engage when you have questions. I'm a teacher. That's part of my what I feel is my calling to help people is I feel led to teach, to help guide. Even though I'm in it myself, I feel led to guide. So I want you to go and ask me your questions because I want to be able to provide you with that guidance. And I'm going to answer all of them. I might not get to them all immediately, but I'm going to answer each and every one of your questions because I'm here to help you. That is the reason I started this podcast. And in helping you, I'm helping me. I'm helping me learn. I'm helping me grow. I'm challenging my way of thinking. This was a shock to me because I'm a very selfish person. So thinking about how selfless I need to turn all this time that I spend practicing needs to be turned into selflessness. It's an incredibly challenging thought. But that's the point of this. Challenge yourself. Tune yourself up. Get in tune. Get in tune with your soul. You can get in tune with the music, but are you in tune spiritually with the art? Food for thought. I'll leave you with that. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning, and afternoon.